My ex said I'd never succeed without her, so I wrote a book, got a Netflix deal, and now she comments from a burner account every month. I'm a 28-year-old guy. And my ex once told me, "You'd be nothing without me." At the time, I thought she meant it in a loving, almost poetic wail, like she saw something in me no one else did. Her name was Ava. She was the kind of woman who walked into a room and made everyone glance up from their phones. Smart, sharp-tongued, and always 5 steps ahead. We met during our junior year of college. Me, the quiet guy in the back row with a beat-up laptop and notebooks filled with unfinished short stories. Her, the marketing major who already had internships lined up before senior year even started. She called me her quiet genius. Said I had the soul of a novelist. The kind of depth she couldn't find in frat guys or finance bros. I was flattered. Honestly, I was in awe. I'd never dated someone like her, so sure of herself, so ambitious. When she suggested we move in together after graduation, I didn't hesitate. I thought it meant we were serious, that we were a team. The first few months were good. I worked night shifts at a warehouse, came home at dawn, brewed a pot of coffee, and wrote until I crashed. She'd leave for her job at the firm in heels and lipstick, always with a quick kiss and a half-joking, "Don't spill ink on the couch, Hemingway," but slowly. Her compliments turned into sideways jabs. "I can't believe I'm paying rent so you can chase a fantasy. You're lucky I tolerate this starving artist thing. But you could have had a real job by now if you weren't so idealistic." At first, I laughed it off. I told myself she was just being practical, that she wanted the best for me. I didn't realize what it really was: control wrapped in affection, a leash made of love, and I had no idea how tight it was going to get. She made 6 figures in marketing. I made $12 an hour loading boxes and chasing a story no one had read but me. Ava liked to compare things. Our paychecks, our schedules, our shoes. Her favorite line was, "I'm building something real while you're playing make-believe." She'd say it while tossing her designer heels near the doorway, watching me wash dishes like a disappointed parent. I didn't fight her on it. I'd just nod and keep wiping the same plate. Somewhere deep down, I believed her. I started second-guessing my own work, deleting full chapters, questioning every sentence, wondering if I was wasting my life scribbling in notebooks while my friends got promoted. "You ever think about applying somewhere? Like, seriously?" She'd ask, lying on the couch, scrolling LinkedIn. "Writing can be your passion, but maybe just not your plan." She made plan sound like a dirty word. I remember one night in particular. She came home drunk from a networking event, tossed her clutch on the table, looked at me, and laughed. Someone asked what my boyfriend does. I told them, "You're an author." And they said, "Oh, has he published anything?" She paused. I didn't know what to say. I felt like someone had just peeled me open with a spoon. The worst part? I still made her tea that night. Sat with her while she ranted about the office, listened, nodded, took care of her, because even when she mocked me, craved her approval like oxygen. And when she wasn't criticizing me, she was magnetic, funny, affectionate, seductive in a way that made you forget the last insult. I told myself she was just stressed, that when I finished the book, things would change. But the more I wrote, the more she seemed to resent me. And I didn't realize I wasn't writing my story anymore. I was living in hers. There's this moment I still replay in my head, like a glitch in an old VHS tape, skipping over and over. It was a Tuesday. I remembered because I had finally printed out the first full draft of my novel, 286 pages. I held it in my hands like it was a newborn, raw, ugly, unfinished. But mine. I left it on the coffee table before heading into the kitchen to make us dinner. Pasta, nothing fancy. Ava came home, saw the manuscript, and picked it up without a word. "You really printed this?" she asked, flipping through the pages like it was junk mail. "Yeah," I said, cautiously. "I just wanted to hold it, see what it feels like." She laughed. Not a giggle, not amused. A cold, sharp bark of disbelief. "Jesus, this thing is thick. How many hours did you waste on this?" I opened my mouth, but the words caught in my throat. Then she said it. "No one's going to read this. You're embarrassing yourself." Before I could respond, she walked over to the trash can, opened it, and dropped the entire thing inside. I stood there, frozen, like my legs had been bolted to the floor. My throat was dry, my hands shaking, but I didn't move. I didn't fight her. I didn't scream. I just let it happen, and the worst part, I apologized. I said, "You're right. Maybe I got carried away." I even thanked her for keeping me grounded. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling while she snored beside me, and something inside me cracked quietly, like a hairline fracture in a foundation. The kind of break you don't notice until the whole house starts to lean. But I kept quiet, because I thought love meant sacrifice. And I didn't realize I was burning myself down just to keep her warm. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She didn't even say goodbye. I came home one night from a brutal shift, my back sore, eyes gritty with sleep, and I noticed the apartment was quieter than usual. Too quiet. Ava's heels weren't by the door. Her perfume didn't hang in the hallway like it normally did. At first, I thought she was just out late. Then I walked into the bedroom and saw it. The closet, half empty. Her side of the dresser drawers left open and bare. Makeup gone. Jewelry box missing. On the fridge, stuck with the same magnet that used to hold our pizza coupons, was a yellow sticky note. "I need a real man." Good luck, Hemingway. I stared at that note for 5 full minutes. Read it again, and again, hoping it would rewrite itself. That maybe I was hallucinating from exhaustion. But no, she was gone. I called her. Straight to voicemail. I texted. Nothing. I sat on the couch that night, surrounded by silence, holding her note like it was a letter from God. And the longer I sat there, the more it sunk into didn't just leave me. She'd been waiting for the right moment to cut me off like a dying branch. Rent was due in 12 days. My savings were gone. The only full draft of my novel, the one I had printed before she trashed, it was never backed up. I had maybe 10 scattered scenes left on a USB buried somewhere in my backpack. And as if that wasn't enough, 3 days later, my phone pinged with a tag on Instagram. One of Ava's friends had posted a group photo at some rooftop party. Ava was in the middle, laughing, holding a cocktail, captioned, "Here's to cutting dead weight." In the comments, someone wrote, "Good for you, girl. Some people just aren't meant to succeed." And she liked it. I stared at that tiny, glowing heart icon, and I realized Di wasn't heartbroken. I was humiliated. 3 weeks after Ava left, I hit the kind of low that doesn't look dramatic from the outside. It just feels like your soul's gone quiet. I was sleeping on the floor because I sold the bed to cover rent. My meals were instant noodles and tap water. I'd stopped writing completely. The spark was gone. Every time I tried, her voice echoed in my head. "No one's going to read this." I needed a job fast. Not another warehouse shift. Something where I could keep my sanity. I stumbled into a little indie cafe tucked between 2 boutiques downtown. Faded chalkboard menu, old jazz playing through dusty speakers, and the smell of burnt espresso lingering in the air. The woman behind the counter looked like she'd walked straight out of a Hemingway short story, white hair in a messy bun. Wire-rimmed glasses, sleeves rolled up over ink-stained forearms. Her name was Ruth. "You ever make coffee before?" she asked, eyeing my resume like it was a napkin. No, I said. But I learned fast. She stared at me for a beat, then smirked. You look like you need to be around books more than people. We open at 7. Don't be late. The job paid scraps, but it gave me something. Structure, warmth, a reason to shower one slow afternoon. I was sitting in the back during my break, scribbling in a torn-up notebook, just habit, nothing serious. Ruth walked by, glanced down, and said, "That's yours?" I nodded. She picked it up, flipped through a few pages, then looked at me and said, "You write like you're still trying to get someone to love you." The words hit me like a slap. I froze, but the bones are there. She added, "Keep going. Stop begging." I didn't say anything. Just watched her walk away, apron tied like armor. That night, I pulled out the old USB from my backpack, plugged it in, opened the files. It wasn't much, just a few scenes and scraps, but it was mine. And for the first time in months, I felt something flicker back to life. I didn't write it for anyone, not an agent, not a publisher, not even to prove Ava wrong. I wrote it because if I didn't, was afraid I'd disappear. Every morning before the cafe opened, I sat in the back corner, booth pen in hand, notebook on the table, black coffee cooling beside me. No outlines, no structure. Just raw, bleeding truth poured onto paper. I wasn't writing a novel anymore. I was writing myself back into existence. I wrote about a character who gave up everything for a woman who saw him as a fixer-upper. I wrote about manipulation dressed as motivation. I wrote the words I wished I had said, the endings I never got, the pain I never admitted. And somewhere along the way, it stopped being fiction. It was a confession, Ruth noticed. She started reading small chunks when I left my notebooks out. Never praised it too much. Just offered blunt comments like, "This part's honest. Keep that." Or, "You're hiding here. Rewrite it." One day she said, "You ever thought about publishing this?" I laughed. "Yeah, when I grow a spine." She didn't laugh back. Instead, she took a sip of her tea and said, "I know someone. Small indie press. No guarantees. But I think you should try." I hesitated. The fear was still there of rejection, of ridicule, of Ava being right. But that fear was quieter now. Like background static, I sent in the draft under a fake name. Didn't even reread it. Just hit send and turned off my phone for the rest of the day. A week later, I got an email from the editor. The subject line was one word: yes. The body of the email was simple. "We don't usually do memoir-style fiction." But this punched me in the gut. "Let's talk." I stared at the screen for a long time. Not smiling, not crying, just ... still. Because for the first time in years, someone had read my story, really read it. And they didn't laugh. They didn't roll their eyes. They said yes. And that changed everything. The book came out quietly. No launch party. No fanfare. Just a soft release through the indie press with a minimalist cover. My pseudonym in small serif font. And a short blurb. A story about being torn down and writing your way out. I didn't tell anyone. Not even my friends. I was terrified Ava would find it, or worse, mock it publicly. I kept my head down, poured lattes, stocked napkins, and watched the royalty report hover around 24 copies sold. Then one night, while wiping tables at the cafe, Ruth walked over and showed me her phone. "You've seen this?" It was a TikTok. A girl with blue hair and a bookshelf behind her was holding up my book. Eyes red like she'd just finished crying. "I don't know who wrote this," she said into the camera, but it broke something open in me. It's like they were watching my last relationship. Like they knew. If you've ever felt small, if someone's ever made you feel like your dreams were stupid red, the video had 40,000 likes. By the next morning, It had 200/00. By the end of the week, it was over 1 million. BookTok exploded. People were stitching her video, highlighting their favorite lines, crying on camera. Quotes from the book started popping up on Instagram and Pinterest. You don't have to stay broken just because someone told you that's all you'd ever be. Control wrapped in concern is still control. My publisher emailed me in all caps. We need to order a second print run. My inbox flooded with messages, readers thanking me, sharing their own stories, asking if I'd write more. I still hadn't put my real name out there, but suddenly, the words I once thought were worthless were echoing through thousands of lives. And in the middle of it all, I got a DM from an unverified account. No profile photo. Just 5 words. Is this book about me? I stared at the screen. I didn't reply. But deep down, I knew exactly who it was. And she knew I knew. I was standing behind the counter refilling the oat milk when the email came in. Subject, adaptation, inquiry, Caged Sunlight, the sender. A producer from Netflix. At first, I thought it was spam. But then I saw the signature. The real name. The contact number. The production company listed in the email footer. They weren't just interested in an option, they wanted to turn Caged Sunlight into a limited series. 6 episodes, character-driven, raw. They asked if I'd be open to being a creative consultant. Offered a number I had never seen in my bank account. Not even close. I remember just staring at the screen. For once, not doubting if it was real, just overwhelmed that something I made in the dark might now live on screens across the world. And then, like clockwork, she reached out. It started with a text. From a number I hadn't seen in over a year. Ava saw your book. Let's catch up. No apology. No congratulations. Just a casual, breezy summons like she was calling an old pet home. I didn't respond. The next day, she messaged again. I always knew you'd do something with your writing. I'm proud of you. It made me nauseous. That same patronizing sweetness wrapped around a dagger. The same voice that once said, "You're lucky, I tolerate this." I went to block the number, then paused. A few days later, I was tagged in a Reddit thread where fans were discussing who the real-life Ava might have been. One user, brand new account, 0 post history, wrote a comment defending the ex, saying we don't know what really happened. Maybe he exaggerated to make her look bad. That account had the same phrasing Ava used in texts. Same punctuation style. Same way of writing, maybe when she meant definitely. She was watching. She was commenting. She was trying to rewrite the story I had already published in ink. And the irony. She'd once said no one would ever read my work. Now she was reading every word. From the shadows. With a burner account, at first, I ignored it. The burner account? The vague comments? The defensive tone laced in faux objectivity. But then the posts became more specific. A Reddit thread discussing how Ava was portrayed in Caged Sunlight got a reply. We don't know what the author left out. Maybe she supported him more than he admits. Another on Twitter said, sounds like he resents strong women. Maybe she just wanted him to grow up. The same account. Every time, I'm a writer. Patterns are kind of my thing. And something about the way these posts were worded it was her. The cadence. The phrasing. Even the choice of words like grow up and support were dead giveaways. I knew Ava's voice. I'd memorized it like scripture once. And now it was echoing behind a faceless avatar. Out of curiosity, I checked my website's contact form logs. Buried deep in the back end, I found an entry from the same week she first messaged me. The IP address matched the general location of her apartment, at least, where she used to live. And it matched the metadata from one of the anonymous comments left on my blog. She hadn't just read the book. She was tracking its impact. trying to control the narrative one comment at a time. I didn't confront her. I didn't respond. I wrote a blog post instead. No names. No accusations. Just a single line that went viral. If you recognize yourself in my story, maybe ask why you feel exposed. It was reposted everywhere. Within days, the burner comments stopped. The anonymous defense disappeared, and Ava. She never texted again, but I knew she was still watching. Quietly, because weeks later, a new account popped up on a different platform, praising the book, but subtly downplaying the narrator's pain. Same rhythm. Same punctuation. Same obsession. She thought she could edit the story. She forgot I was the one holding the pen, and I hadn't even started writing the ending yet. I hadn't seen her in person since the night I came home to the empty closet and that sticky note on the fridge. I didn't think I ever would, but life has a twisted sense of timing. The bookstore in my hometown invited me for a signing, one of those full-circle moments where you sit behind a folding table, stack your books, and try to pretend the imposter syndrome isn't eating you alive. It was packed. People lined up with copies of Caged Sunlight, asking me to sign their favorite quote. Some cried. One guy brought his sister, said the book helped her leave an abusive relationship. That moment cracked something open in me. I didn't feel like a failure anymore. And then I saw her at the back of the line, wearing black. Hair shorter. Arms crossed, eyes locked on me, my pulse kicked. Not out of fear, just ... recognition, like staring at a ghost. You didn't bury properly. She didn't say anything until everyone else had cleared out. Then she walked up, placed a copy of my book on the table, her copy, and said, "So, you really hated me that much?" I looked at her. Not the way I used to. Not like she held pieces of me, but like she was someone I used to know before I learned how to breathe again. "No," I said. "I just finally told the truth." She flinched. Just slightly. She picked up the book, turned it in her hands like she wasn't sure if she wanted to throw it or take it home. "I was young," she said. We both were. I didn't reply, because healing doesn't mean handing out forgiveness like candy. Sometimes it means saying nothing, just letting the silence be the answer. She nodded once, like she understood, and then she left. No apology. No tears. Just the sound of the door chime echoing behind her. I sat there alone, staring at the chair she'd just vacated, and for the first time, I didn't feel small. I didn't feel like the broken one. I felt ... free. It's been almost a year since that book signing. Since I looked her in the eye and didn't fall apart. But she still shows up, not in person, not in texts. Online. Every month, like clockwork, a new comment appears. Different platform, different username, same rhythm. Sometimes it's subtle praise. The author clearly went through something, but he paints himself a little too clean. Other times, it's veiled criticism. I wonder if the ex was really as cruel as she's portrayed. A few weeks ago, I saw "This feels like emotional manipulation disguised as art." She never tags me directly, never uses her real name. But I know it's her. I can feel it. It's in the phrasing, the passive-aggressive tone. The obsession with the character Ava and whether she was misunderstood. One post even defended the ex's actions by saying, "Sometimes people just want stability. Is that a crime?" Which was word for word what Ava once said to me when I couldn't afford dinner. I don't block her. I don't respond. I let the comments sit there, like dust on a bookshelf, noticed by most, but always present if you're looking. Because here's the thing. I'm not writing for her anymore. I'm not trying to prove anything. I've started my second book. The Netflix series is in post-production. I just got asked to speak at a creative conference for survivors of emotional abuse. My life moves forward now, and hers. She's still circling the same drain, still trying to control the story, still whispering through burner accounts, hoping I'll hand her the narrative again, but I won't, because I don't need to erase her. I already outgrew her, and every month when I see those comments, I just smile a little. Not out of spite, out of peace, because some people build legacies, and others spend their lives hiding behind fake profiles, trying to rewrite the past, and one of us has already been published. They say success is the best revenge. But I don't think that's true, because revenge still centers the person who hurt you. It's loud, messy, addictive. It demands they notice you've moved on, and I don't care if she notices anymore. I don't think about Ava when I walk into my apartment, the one I decorated myself. Walls lined with first edition novels and early drafts framed like battle scars. I don't think about her when I get stopped on the street by someone who says, "Your book saved my life." I don't think about her when the Netflix trailer drops and my inbox explodes. I think about the kid version of me writing in spiral notebooks, dreaming of a life where his voice mattered. I think about the boy who apologized when she threw his novel in the trash. And I think about how far I had to climb just to believe I deserved to be heard. I didn't write Caged Sunlight to hurt her. I wrote it to survive her. The emails I get now aren't from publishers or producers, they're from people, strangers who've been through the same kind of quiet, unspoken abuse. People who've said, "I thought I was crazy until I read your story." That's what matters. Ava was a chapter, a brutal one, a necessary one. But she's not the book. She can keep making burner accounts. She can twist herself into anonymous comments, hoping to claw her way back into the narrative. But her words don't matter here anymore, because I'm the one who lived it. I'm the one who wrote it. And I'm the one who gets to walk away. Final scene. I close my laptop after signing off on the final episode script. Outside, the sun is rising. Soft, quiet. I pull on my hoodie, grab my keys, and step out into the street. No applause. No spotlight, just peace. I didn't get revenge. I got free. And in the end, that's the better story.